The day the Galactic Council exiled humanity, they believed they had erased a threat. But all they truly did was give humans the freedom to build something far greater. And when humanity returned, they didn't come back seeking forgiveness. They came back with an empire. The verdict of exile, the great council chamber hung suspended in the void between stars. A massive structure of gleaming metal and crystalline windows. Inside, representatives from 47 alien species sat in tiered seats that circled the central platform. The air hummed with tension as thousands of eyes focused on a lone human standing at the center. Ambassador, Dr. Elena Vasquez stood straight despite the weight of countless hostile stares. Her dark hair was pulled back severely, and her formal diplomatic uniform bore the insignia of United Earth. She had been arguing humanity's case for 3 hours. But she could see the decision had already been made. The faces surrounding her showed no sympathy, only judgment and fear. High Chancellor Vronic rose from his elevated seat. The tall insectoid being's antennae twitched as he spoke, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. Ambassador Vasquez, this council has heard your defense. We have reviewed the evidence presented. The conclusion is unavoidable. Elena's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. She had known this moment was coming ever since the accusations began 6 months ago. Humanity had been too successful, too ambitious, too unwilling to accept the limitations other species placed upon them. Vronic continued, his mandibles clicking between words. Humanity has existed in galactic space for nearly 32 years. In that brief time, you have established 17 colony worlds, created the largest merchant fleet per capita of any species, and developed technologies that challenge civilizations thousands of years older. This rapid expansion demonstrates dangerous ambition. We followed every treaty, Elena said firmly. We broke no laws. Our success came from hard work and innovation, not aggression. Your very nature is aggressive, spoke Counselor Thesa, a being of flowing energy contained within a translucent suit. You question everything. You refuse to accept established wisdom. You push boundaries that were set for good reason. 3 times your explorers have entered restricted zones. Twice your corporations have developed weapons technology without proper authorization. Your species cannot be controlled. Elena felt anger rising in her chest, but forced it down. Cannot be controlled or will not be subordinated? There is a difference, Counselor. Humanity seeks partnership, not domination. We have contributed more to galactic trade and science in 3 decades than some species have in 3 centuries. That is precisely the problem, Roic said, coldly. You advance too quickly. You disrupt the natural order. Younger species are supposed to learn slowly, to be guided by their elders. Humanity refuses to follow this path. You represent chaos in a galaxy that has achieved stability over millions of years. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement from various council members. Elena looked around at faces both familiar and alien. She saw fear in many of them. Fear of change. Fear of being surpassed. Fear of a species that would not accept its assigned place in the cosmic hierarchy. This council has reached a unanimous decision, Vronic announced. Humanity is hereby banished from all recognized galactic space. You have 30 standard days to evacuate all colony worlds, stations, and outposts. Any human vessels found in Council territory after this period will be destroyed without warning. All trade agreements are terminated immediately. All diplomatic relations are severed. Humanity is exiled. The words hit Elena like physical blows. 30 days to abandon everything humanity had built among the stars. 17 thriving colonies. Millions of people who had made new worlds their homes. Countless businesses, research stations, and dreams. You are condemning us to the outer rim, Elena said, her voice shaking with barely controlled emotion. The uncharted territories where no species can survive. You're sentencing millions to death. You will survive or you will not, Disa said without sympathy. That is no longer our concern. Perhaps in isolation, humanity will learn humility. Perhaps in a few centuries, if you endure, you may petition for readmission to civilized space. Until then, you are forbidden. Elena stood silent for a long moment. Then she straightened her shoulders and looked directly at Veronica. You fear us because we do not accept limitations. You exile us because we threaten your comfortable stagnation. But hear me now, High Chancellor. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We have been cast out before and thrived. You think you are punishing us, but you are simply challenging us. And humanity has never backed down from a challenge? She turned slowly, making eye contact with as many council members as possible. You will regret this decision. Not because we will seek revenge, but because you are losing the best ally you could have had. When the day comes that you need us, and that day will come, remember that you chose this. Without waiting for dismissal, Alina walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet chamber. No one stopped her. The judgment had been passed. Humanity's place among the stars had been revoked as the transport carried her away from the council station. Elena looked back at the massive structure. Somewhere inside, those alien beings believed they had solved their problem. They thought they had contained the human threat. They were wrong. Back on Earth, the news spread within hours. Emergency sessions convened in every major capital. President James Wilson addressed a stunned planet from the United Nations headquarters in Geneva. His face appeared on screens across the world, exhausted but determined. My fellow humans, he began, his voice steady despite the catastrophic news. Today, the Galactic Council has exiled our species from known space. We have 30 days to evacuate 17 colony worlds and hundreds of stations. This is the greatest crisis humanity has faced since we first reached the stars. He paused, letting the weight of those words settle. But we are not defeated. We are not broken. Our ancestors crossed oceans in wooden boats. They survived ice ages and plagues. They reached for the moon when others said it was impossible. That same spirit lives in us today. We will evacuate our people. We will move to the outer rim. We will build again, and we will show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of when we stand together. Across 17 colony worlds, the evacuation began. Ships launched continuously, carrying people and precious cargo. Families packed what they could carry and left homes they had built with their own hands. Scientists abandoned research that had consumed years of their lives. Children said goodbye to the only worlds they had ever known. The great exodus had begun. Humanity was leaving the civilized galaxy behind, heading into the unknown darkness of the outer rim. They had no choice. They had 30 days to disappear or face extermination. But as the last human ships departed from the innermost colonies, something unexpected was happening. People were not despairing. They were angry. They were determined. They were already planning. Exile was supposed to be a punishment, a sentence of slow death in the hostile void beyond council space. Humanity would turn it into an opportunity. They always had. Building from nothing, 5 years had passed since the exile. The outer rim of the galaxy was a place the council species had abandoned centuries ago, considering it too dangerous and resource-poor to colonize. They were wrong. Humanity discovered what others had missed because they had never bothered to look closely. Director Marcus. Chun stood in the observation dome of New Terra Station, watching construction crews work on the latest expansion. The station had grown from a desperate refugee camp into a thriving hub of 300,000 people. Beyond it, dozens of smaller stations dotted the darkness. Connected by a network of trade routes that humanity had carved from nothing, Marcus was a thin man with graying hair and tired eyes that held fierce determination. He had been a colonial administrator on Sentinel Prime before the exile. Now he oversaw the largest human settlement in the Outer Rim. It was not the position he had wanted, but it was the one humanity needed him to fill. Director Chen, the mining teams are reporting another rich deposit, said Commander Lisa Park, his chief of operations. She was younger, energetic, with the kind of optimism that came from never knowing the galaxy before the exile. That makes 7 new resource fields this month. The Outer Rim keeps surprising us. Marcus smiled slightly. The council thought these regions were worthless because their scanners could not penetrate the radiation zones. They never sent actual expeditions to investigate. Their losses are gain. And what a gain it had been. The outer rim was filled with rare elements that existed nowhere in council space. Minerals that could store energy with incredible efficiency. Crystals that enhanced quantum computing beyond anything previously possible. Gases that made faster than light travel more stable. Humanity had stumbled into a treasure trove that the advanced species of the galaxy had overlooked. But resources alone would not have been enough. What made humanity's survival possible was their ability to innovate without the restrictions council regulations had imposed. For 3 decades, human scientists had been forced to follow established protocols, to use approved technologies, to advance at the pace the council deemed acceptable. Now, in exile, those chains were broken. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo walked into the observation dome carrying a data tablet. She was the head of the Confederation Science Division, a brilliant physicist who had been censured by the council twice for pursuing forbidden research. Out here, there was no one to forbid anything. Marcus, we have done it, she said, unable to hide her excitement. The new FTL drive works. Not just works, it exceeds every projection. We can travel twice as fast as council ships with half the energy consumption. Marcus turned to face her fully. Are you certain? The test results are conclusive? Completely certain? We have run 47 successful trials. The drive is stable, efficient, and we can manufacture it using resources we mine right here in the Outer Rim. We do not need to import anything from council space. Sarah's eyes shone with pride. We built this ourselves, Marcus. No borrowed technology. No copied designs. Pure human innovation. Lisa stepped closer, studying the data on Sarah's tablet. If we can produce these drives in quantity, every ship in the Confederation can be upgraded within 2 years. We will have the fastest fleet in the galaxy, and the Council will never know until we are ready to reveal it, Marcus added quietly. Keep this classified for now. Continue testing, but begin preparing for mass production. This changes everything. Over the next months, humanity's hidden empire continued to grow. What the Council had intended as a death sentence had become an opportunity for explosive development. Cut off from galactic trade, humans had been forced to become completely self-sufficient. They grew their own food in massive hydroponic stations. They manufactured everything they needed from locally sourced materials. They trained their own doctors, engineers, and scientists without relying on alien institutions. The Human Confederation emerged from this crucible. It was not a continuation of the old united government, but something new. 17 colony worlds that had been evacuated now existed as memory and motivation. In their place, humanity built 23 new settlements across the Outer Rim. Smaller than the old colonies, but more efficient, more unified, more determined. President Sarah Okonkwo, the physicist who had made the FTL breakthrough, was elected to lead the Confederation in its 3rd year. She was a woman who understood both science and people, who could inspire hope while making hard decisions. Under her leadership, humanity stopped thinking of themselves as exiles and started thinking of themselves as pioneers. We are not waiting for the Council to forgive us, she announced in her inauguration speech, broadcast across all human settlements. We are not begging to be readmitted to their civilization. We are building our own civilization, one that reflects human values of freedom, innovation, and determination. Let the Council keep their stagnant empire. We are creating something better. The speech resonated across human space. A generation of children had grown up in the Outer Rim, knowing the Council only as the enemy that had cast out their parents. They felt no nostalgia for the old days. This was their home, and they were proud of what humanity was building. Marcus Chen oversaw the construction of 3 shipyards capable of producing vessels with the new FTL drives. Commander Lisa Park organized a defense fleet that trained constantly, developing tactics based on human military history rather than galactic conventions. Dr. Amara Okafor lead agricultural research that resulted in crops capable of growing in the harsh conditions of outer rim environments. Every human contributed according to their abilities. There were no idle hands in the Confederation. Everyone understood that their survival depended on collective effort. The individualism that had characterized pre-exile humanity evolved into a powerful sense of shared purpose. They were not just surviving, they were thriving. In the 10th year of exile, the Confederation made contact with 3 non-council species that lived in the Outer Rim. These were civilizations the Council had dismissed as primitive or irrelevant, but humanity approached them as equals. Trade agreements were established. Cultural exchanges began. Technology was shared freely in both directions. Humanity was building alliances the Council knew nothing about. By the 10th year, the human confederation had grown beyond anything the Council could have imagined. The population had increased to nearly 400 million. Across 24 major settlements and hundreds of smaller outposts, the economy was robust, built on industries that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. The military, though smaller than Council forces, was equipped with technology that gave them significant advantages. Marcus Chen was older now, his hair completely white, but his eyes still held that fierce determination. He stood once again in the observation dome of New Terra Station, now expanded to house 500,000 people. The view had changed dramatically. Where once there had been desperate refugee ships, now there was an organized society with purpose and direction. "We have built something remarkable," Lisa Park said, standing beside him. She was a senior admiral now, commanding the Confederation Defense Fleet. "The Council meant to destroy us. Instead, they freed us to become what we were always meant to be." Marcus nodded slowly. "They thought we needed them to survive. They were wrong. We needed ourselves. Our ingenuity, our determination, our refusal to accept defeat." Sarah Okonkwo joined them, her term as president ending soon, but her work far from finished. "We have received interesting intelligence from our contacts near Council space. There are rumors of a threat emerging from deep space, something the Council has never encountered before. Their military is preparing for conflict." "Should we be concerned?" Lisa asked. "Not yet," Sarah replied. "But we should be aware. The galaxy is larger than the Council believes, and they may soon learn that lesson the hard way." Marcus looked out at the thriving stations and ships of the Confederation. "Whatever comes, we are ready. We have built this empire from nothing in the harshest region of the galaxy, while surrounded by those who wanted us to fail. If the Council faces a threat they cannot handle, they will have no one to blame but themselves for exiling the one species that might have helped them." The 3 of them stood in silence, watching humanity's new empire pulse with life and energy. The exile had been meant as punishment. It had become their greatest achievement. And the story was far from over, the return that changed everything. Distress signal reached New Terra Station on a cold morning in the 16th year of exile. Commander Lisa Park was reviewing fleet readiness reports when the message appeared on her screen. She read it once, then again, unable to believe what she was seeing. "Get me President Okonkwo immediately," she said to her communications officer. "And wake up Director Chun. They both need to see this." Within 20 minutes, the 3 leaders of the Human Confederation gathered in the secure command center. The message played on the main screen, translated from the formal language of the Galactic Council. High Chancellor Vronick's face appeared, older and far more tired than anyone remembered. "To the exiled humans of the Outer Rim," he began, his voice lacking its former arrogance. "The Galactic Council faces an unprecedented crisis. 6 months ago, an unknown force entered our space from beyond the galactic edge. We attempted communication. They responded with violence. 14 Council worlds have fallen. Our combined fleets have engaged them in 4 major battles. We have lost every engagement." The image shifted to show recordings of the attacks. Massive ships unlike anything in Council databases tore through defensive formations. Their weapons cut through shields as if they did not exist. Their tactics were brutal and efficient. Council vessels exploded in silence as the unknown enemy advanced systematically through populated space. Ronnick's face returned to the screen. We calculate that at current rates of advance, the enemy will reach the Council homeworlds within 8 months. We have tried everything. Our best military minds have found no effective defense. Our most advanced weapons barely slow them down. He paused, and something that might have been shame crossed his alien features. We are asking for your help. Humanity was exiled because we feared your unpredictability and aggression. Now those same qualities may be the only thing that can save us. We are begging you to return, the message ended. Silence filled the command center as the three leaders absorbed what they had just witnessed. The proud Galactic Council, the civilization that had cast humanity into the darkness, was now pleading for rescue. They must be desperate, Marcus Chun said quietly. Ronnick would rather die than admit he was wrong. For him to send this message, they must truly believe they are facing extinction. Sarah Okonkwo studied the battle recordings with the analytical mind of a scientist. Their tactics are failing because they fight by established conventions. The enemy clearly does not. The Council has forgotten how to adapt because they have not faced a real threat in thousands of years. So what do we do? Lisa asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. Do we help the people who tried to destroy us? Do we risk Confederation lives for a council that showed us no mercy? Sarah stood and walked to the window overlooking New Terra Station. Outside, human ships moved in organized patterns, conducting trade and defense drills. Families lived their lives in stations humanity had built with their own hands. Children played in gardens that should not exist in the harsh outer rim. This was the empire that Exile had forged. We help them, Sarah said finally, turning to face her colleagues. Not because they deserve it. Not because we owe them anything. We help them because it is the right thing to do. Because humanity does not abandon others to extinction, even when those others abandoned us first. Marcus nodded slowly. The Council will see it as weakness. They will think we are desperate to be accepted back into their civilization. Let them think what they want, Sarah replied. We know the truth. We are strong enough to show mercy. We are secure enough to offer help without needing anything in return. That is the difference between us and them. Lisa pulled up tactical displays. If we are doing this, we do it properly. I recommend sending the 3rd and 5th fleets. 80 ships total, all equipped with our advanced FTL drives and new weapon systems. We also send our best tactical minds. Admiral James Reeves should command the operation. Agreed, Sarah said. But make it clear to Admiral Reeves that this is a humanitarian mission, not a reconciliation. We help them win their war. We do not beg to be readmitted to their council. We remain independent regardless of the outcome. Within 3 days, the Confederation fleet was assembled and ready to depart. Admiral James Reeves was a veteran commander who had served in the old United Earth Navy before the exile. He understood both council military doctrine and human tactical innovation. If anyone could make a difference in this war, it was him. The fleet jumped to council space using the new FTL drives, covering distances in hours that would have taken council ship's days. They emerged near the besieged world of Tarvos Prime, where council forces were making a desperate last stand against the invaders. What the Confederation fleet found was chaos. 40 council warships tried to hold a defensive perimeter around the planet while enemy vessels systematically destroyed them. The council ships fought bravely but predictably, following formations that the enemy had clearly learned to counter. All ships, this is Admiral Reeves, James announced across the fleet channel. Execute strike pattern, Serpent. Do not engage directly. Hit and fade. Target their command vessels first. Show them what unpredictability looks like. The human ships did not charge into battle like the council vessels. Instead, they scattered, using their superior speed to appear in unexpected locations. They struck the enemy fleet from 12 different angles simultaneously, then jumped away before return fire could lock onto them. Their weapons, designed using outer rim resources and unrestricted research, punched through enemy shields with devastating effectiveness. The enemy fleet tried to adapt, but human ships refused to follow any pattern. They fought like nothing the invaders had encountered before. One moment attacking from above, the next from below. Coordinating strikes that seemed random, but were actually precisely calculated chaos. Council commanders watched in amazement as the tide of battle shifted. The enemy formation that had seemed invincible began to fracture. Human ships targeted command vessels with surgical precision, disrupting the enemy's coordination. Within 2 hours, the invaders were retreating, something they had never done before in 6 months of warfare. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Reeves allowed himself a small smile. All ships pursue but maintain discipline. Do not let them regroup. Drive them back the way they came. Over the next 4 months, the human fleet fought alongside Council forces in 6 major engagements. Each time, human tactics proved decisive. The Confederation commanders taught Council officers to think differently, to abandon rigid formations in favor of fluid adaptability. They shared insights from human military history, from battles fought on Earth, thousands of years before space travel existed. The enemy force that had seemed unstoppable was steadily pushed back, not through superior firepower, but through superior thinking. The invaders had optimized their tactics against Council conventions. They had no answer for human unpredictability. In the final battle. Fought at the edge of Council space, the combined human and Council fleet destroyed the enemy command structure. The remaining invader ships fled back into deep space, defeated not by technology, but by tactics they could not comprehend. When the battle ended, High Chancellor Ronick requested a meeting with President Okonkwo. She traveled to the council chambers for the first time in 16 years. The chamber looked exactly as she remembered, but the being sitting in those tiered seats looked different. Humbled, grateful, ashamed. President Okonkwo, Ronick began, standing to address her formally. The Galactic Council owes humanity a debt that can never be fully repaid. You came to our aid when you had every reason to refuse. You saved us from extinction when we had tried to condemn you to that very fate. Sarah stood at the center of the chamber, in the same spot where Elena Vasquez had stood 16 years earlier. We did not come to earn your gratitude, High Chancellor. We came because it was right. Because when faced with the choice between revenge and compassion, humanity chooses compassion. Thesa, the energy being who had spoken so harshly at the exile hearing, spoke now with a different tone. We were wrong about your species. We feared your potential because we had lost our own. We punished you for questioning traditions that needed to be questioned. We exiled you because you reminded us of everything we used to be in. Sarah looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of dozens of species. The Outer Rim taught us many things. It taught us self-reliance. It taught us innovation. Most importantly, it taught us that true strength comes from thinking differently, not from following established paths. You meant to weaken us with exile. Instead, you freed us to become stronger than we ever could have been under your restrictions. Ronick bowed his head, a gesture of deep respect in his culture. The Council wishes to offer full reinstatement. All previous charges are dismissed. Your colonies can be returned. Trade agreements restored. You would be welcomed back as full members with complete rights and privileges. The chamber fell silent, waiting for Sarah's response. This was the moment they expected humanity to accept gratefully, to return to the fold of galactic civilization. Sarah smiled, but it was not the smile of someone accepting a gift. It was the smile of someone who had already won. Thank you, High Chancellor, but we decline, she said clearly. The Human Confederation is now an independent power. We have built our own civilization in the Outer Rim, one that reflects our values and capabilities. We do not need the Council's permission to exist. We do not need your approval to thrive. Murmurs of surprise rippled through the chamber. Ronick's antennae twitched in confusion. You refuse our offer? But we are offering you everything you lost. You are offering us what you took, Sarah corrected gently. But we have built something better. However, we are willing to establish formal diplomatic relations as equals. Not as junior members seeking guidance, but as an independent civilization capable of standing on its own. We offer trade agreements, mutual defense pacts, and cultural exchange. But we do so from a position of strength, not supplication. Counselor Thesis spoke again. You have earned that right. The Council accepts your terms. Let it be recorded that the Human Confederation is recognized as an independent, sovereign power with all rights and privileges that entails. May our species move forward as allies rather than antagonists. The council chamber filled with voices of agreement. What had begun as an exile ended in recognition. What had been meant as punishment had become humanity's greatest achievement. As Sarah left the chamber, she thought about Elena Vasquez, the ambassador who had stood in this same spot 16 years ago and promised the council would regret their decision. Elena had been right. Not because humanity sought revenge, but because humanity had proven their worth in the most undeniable way possible. The galaxy learned an important lesson that day. Exile could not break a species with the will to survive. Isolation could not stop a people determined to innovate. And mercy shown by the strong was more powerful than any weapon. Humanity had been cast out and told they would fail. Instead, they had built an empire. They had been declared irrelevant and told to disappear. Instead, they had saved the very civilization that condemned them. The story of the exile became the story of humanity's greatest triumph. Told across the galaxy for generations to come, dot in the outer rim, a new terror station. Marcus Chen and Lisa Park watched the news broadcasts reporting the council's recognition. Marcus smiled, remembering the desperate early days when survival seemed impossible. We did it, Lisa said quietly. Not just survived. We won. We did more than win, Marcus replied. We proved that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our technology. It is our refusal to give up, our ability to adapt, and our choice to show mercy even when we have the power to destroy. That is what makes us truly exceptional. Across human space, in stations and settlements built from nothing, people celebrated not their return to the council, but their independence from it. Children who had grown up in exile felt pride knowing they belonged to a civilization that had earned its place among the stars through determination and compassion. The exile was over. But the story of humanity's empire was just beginning, and this time no one could take it away from them. They had built it with their own hands in the harshest conditions, against impossible odds. It was truly theirs, and it would endure.